toasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne. Cheers, y'all.
Sounds like a party just about to begin, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Ladies and gentlemen, we're up to show number 403.
Now,
403.
I stayed up late last night doing the math and trying to figure out exactly how far along we are, but that's exactly halfway to 500.
Wow, that's good to know. Thank you for that.
I use new math.
Appreciate you. What did George Bush call it? Fuzzy math.
Fuzzy math.
Fuzzy math. I think it works. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. On today's show, iconic brands and Oktoberfest. And our special guest is Sarah Troxell from Iconic Brands. They make a number of iconic brands, including one that I am sure you've heard of, Bombay Sapphire.
Very familiar
gin,
with this.
Yes. And this is the favorite gin of my business partner, Pat, who we've had on the Pipe Show every once in a while. He loves some Bombay Sapphire. So I will be surprised if he doesn't break into the studio here at some point and try to sample some.
Now, we've talked about it just briefly before the show.
Yeah.
This is right about at room temperature.
Yeah.
And we'll try it at this, but I offered to make it cold, which I think just makes it a martini.
Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly right. Get a little twist and we're up and running.
Cold gin is definitely a martini.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And we won't even start the is
song?
Cold vodka a martini.
Isn't there a song reference for cold gin?
I think there is. I think there's a lot of song references to gin, actually. What was our drinking fact from last week? That 1 out of 5 country music songs in the top 100 it makes a reference to alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about cold gin is it's not the song so much anymore. It's what Paul Stanley says to intro the song that matters.
Okay.
It's whatever he brings it together with that night.
So you guys look that up. If that doesn't mean anything to you, you'll enjoy running down that rabbit hole that Terry has brought up for us. So Sarah Troxell is with Iconic Brands. And Sarah, you have joined us on a very interesting day for Smokin' and Toastin'. I hope you're ready for this because normally on the show, we will sample a spirit, sometimes, 1 or 2, and 3 beers. But today, because this is our last show in October, we're going to try to cover all the Oktoberfest ground. And Ian has brought like 13 Oktoberfests.
13 beers.
So we'll be sampling beers like the whole show. Yes. So today's program is brought to you by Uber. And that's right. Or it should be. It actually comes to us, by the way, from our friends at who bring us the show beers normally for the show. And that is our friends out at the
Lone Pint.
Lone Pint Brewery in Magnolia. These guys make one of the greatest IPAs known to man.
Truly.
The Yellow Rose IPA. It's fantastic. You must try it. Do not confuse it with Yellow Rose whiskey. That's a whole different thing and a whole different quality level. The Yellow Rose IPA is fantastic.
Yes.
And you will love it. So we'll be getting to a beverage of mystery here in a few minutes. We'll be getting to some Oktoberfest tasting. And it's time first, though, for our I guess let's just go ahead and do the beverage of mystery, Terry. You want to bring us
you want to do the
let's do that because we've already poured it here, and then we'll get to the drinking fact and the drinking news teaser headline. So
all right,
so let's just start with this.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
The beverage of mystery.
Just in time for Halloween with that spooky music there. That's The Visitor by Shane Ivers.
Well, remember, it's spooky because you never know how bad it
smells
can be.
kind of fruity, nondescript.
Fruity, nondescript. That would probably make it a hard seltzer. Right? Am I right?
Like, don't know what it is. But it smells like there's a little something.
Yeah, there's something in there that's odd.
Now,
is it a little bit of
I will
floor
tell you,
cleaner? What is that?
We've had some
Fruit Loops.
We've had some good beverages of mystery. In fact, Ian brought one last week that was pretty good. But 2 weeks ago, we had hands down the worst beverage
it
of
literally
mystery
tastes like floor cleaner.
ever.
It was
It
so
was
bad.
awful.
So
What was it?
It was from Flying Embers, and it was their Mai Tai.
Oh, it's the
In a
Mai
can.
Tai, that's right.
Mai Tai cocktail in a can.
You would never have guessed that.
It was undrinkable. It was so bad it was undrinkable. But most of the time they're just, either somewhat good or fairly good.
That one was bad. Like,
that one was bad.
I was wondering if it came out of the refrigerator, why is it burning my fingers?
Are they always RTDs or?
Not
Canned
always.
beverages?
So last week was a beer, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And
But it was a beer made to taste like a oatmeal cream pie.
and it was really quite delicious,
Yeah, it's
actually.
pretty
I like oatmeal cream pies. So this week, what do we got? We got
Weird
Kind of-
smell.
It doesn't taste as bad as it smells, but it has that.
Aspartame.
Yeah, 100%. It has that aftertaste.
Why can't they get away from this?
Wow.
Splenda.
Why
Artificial
thing.
sugar.
Why have they not been able to get something that tastes better?
There
for
has to
sweetener?
be people out here that love this,
There must be
You know?
because these sell. This is obviously a hard seltzer. These things sell like crazy.
or they have no flavor receptors.
Well, I was at a concert last night and I was looking around at the people that were, drinking, and there was just cans of Michelob Ultra everywhere.
Skinny can people.
So you can't necessarily say that the public has good taste because there is very little taste in Michelob. It's not disgusting or anything. It's just kind of nothing.
Almost flavor.
Yeah, it's almost flavor. And I have another story to tell about that, but we'll get through the beverage of mystery here first. What are your thoughts on this, Ian?
No. No. I would not. I would not reach for this again.
You're going to go ahead and sign off and say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say 100. The initial flavor on this, I don't think is too bad. It's the aftertaste. It's so, you said it, aspartame. That's what are you thinking on it?
I agree. It's definitely not my favorite RTD spritzy guy. I'm definitely not a frequent White Claw or other consumer. Sometimes when the time is right. But
Terry, of all of us, you
No.
are the one most inclined to like these.
Yeah, and I'm not feeling this one. I mean, it's really just not it's not something I would want to go buy more of. It tastes like
I don't think it's awful by any means.
it's not
but,
it's not regurgitating or anything, but it's just not
Regurgitative.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
And now time for the segment of the program we call Is That a Beverage of Mystery Can in Your Pocket, or Are You Just Happy to See Me? I will produce from my pocket, slightly squashed, the beverage of mystery can. This is a Passion Tree hard seltzer, and they do them in these smaller cans.
I think we tried one of those before.
We did, but this one is dragon fruit.
Wasn't good either. Yeah, I don't get dragon fruit.
that explains the nondescript fruity
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's not really a descript flavor in any way.
Does anybody know what dragon fruit actually tastes like? Like if I say tangerine, you know what a tangerine tastes
You
like.
laugh, but I think my wife has a dragon fruit in a little bowl at the house.
But like
I have no idea what it tastes like.
I was going to say, if somebody brought you a plate of fruit and some of it was dragon fruit and you ate it, would you know, oh, yeah, that's dragon fruit?
Yeah.
I don't think I would.
You know what I have to say is I've never heard anyone say, hey, would you go to the store and get me a thing of dragon fruit? Strawberries, watermelon, yes, but dragon fruit? No.
It's not usually on the grocery list.
Moving to the country, gonna eat me a lot of dragon fruit.
That's right.
Yeah, hard pass on this one.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. That's the beverage of mystery for today, and thank you for sampling, gentlemen and ladies. Yeah, I would, like, if there was nothing else, I would drink that.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
This or a Bud Light.
That.
Yeah, see, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Bud Light's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Like Miller Lite, maybe?
Miller Lite, I'd take over this. Bud Light, no.
Budweiser?
Budweiser,
Light's-
I would take over
Bud
that.
Light's real
Yeah.
tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right.
That's a tough one. Because, like, you can drink a Bud Light if you pull it directly out of ice,
Right.
punch a hole in a can,
And drink the whole
put it
thing
to
at
your
one time.
face, and pop the top.
Hold your nose.
Right? Because
It's
then you're
possible.
not tasting it.
Yeah, all right.
And it doesn't warm up at all.
I do want to say a big thanks to last week's special guest, Nick Davis from Perdomo Cigars, and thanks to Stogies in Houston, who we were able to do the show on location.
That was so
there last
fun. We
week.
hadn't been over in a while.
It was.
good.
I really enjoyed that. So I mentioned on today's show Oktoberfest beers that Ian has sourced for us. He's brought all of these in. A little bit of Bombay Sapphire Gin. And our drinking news story should be a good one today. It's... Drinking News is what we do in the second hour of the show, and it is where we bring you a story that does sometimes, but not always, involve drinking, but it is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking, and we'll have had quite a few Oktoberfests by then. So
it will be much funnier by then.
It will be much funnier by then. Today's drinking news teaser headline: It's been 4 hours. I'm not calling my doctor. I'm calling everybody. So there you go. That's your teaser headline for today's
4 hours
drinking news. And we'll do it in just a moment, but I always like to have a teaser for the drinking fact as well. So I'll give you the teaser, and then we'll just go right into it and do the drinking fact. But the drinking fact teaser is how to deal with a drunken sailor from the land down under.
Oh.
I thought you were going to play me a little land down under there.
Oh,
I
I don't know every single song off the top of my head.
Okay, well, you've been so good with some of them. I thought maybe, and some of the ones you've known have really surprised me. I will say that. That's been a true fact. So Terry is our announcer for the drinking fact. So let's go ahead and just jump right into today's drinking fact.
And now it's time for another smoking and toasting drinking fact.
I just want to mention that last week we were on location, so the fanfare for the drinking fact was put in post. They did it after, and so we didn't actually hear it.
No, I actually did it myself this week. That time, yeah.
And I was like, it just was missing. The whole drinking fact was just missing.
That
something
fanfare lives on in my head.
It really does. And I'm sorry. I apologize. Today's drinking fact: one of the currencies in early colonial Australia was rum. New South Wales Corps officers bought up all the imported rum and established a monopoly on its trade. When Governor William Bligh attempted to shut it down, he was deposed in Australia's first and only military coup.
Wow.
Because he was going to take the rum away. It would later be called the Rum Rebellion. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, today's drinking facts.
That's an amazing thing.
It really is, isn't it? But the only
that's better than what would you do for a Klondike bar, right?
It totally is. The only coup ever in the history of Australia, military coup.
Do not take my rum away. Yeah. We will overthrow you.
Yeah, you have been warned.
I fully get it. I would have been there.
Right? There's precedent for it now.
That's right. That's absolutely right. A lot of other things to talk about on today's program, but I want to get to this one thing first. I mentioned
you have an almost serious look in your eye.
Well, I mentioned being at a concert last night, and I'm going to try to come up with a way to say this that doesn't sound too insulting, but I need some suggestions on what to do when you paid good money for concert tickets and they're no longer cheap. Like concert ticket is cheap, right? So you go to the concert, you're excited to see the band, and you happen to be sitting in front of drunken idiots. And that's never. It was two women.
I mean, I have no idea. I've never run into this in my life.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was two women. So at a certain point before the show really got started, one of them kind of bumped into the back of my head. Not a big deal. It didn't spill anything on me or anything. I was like, oh, that's okay. I mean, real easy for me to blow that off and keep enjoying. But then she leans down from the row behind me and has to start hugging me and patting me and going, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like,
no,
stop touching me. And then
don't do that.
To make matters even worse, through the whole show, they were just like ridiculous. It's like, so what do you do with the drunken idiot concert goer behind you? I mean, I paid a lot of money for these tickets. My wife and I are there trying to enjoy the show.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, there's got to be a solution. Somebody,
you could maybe buy him enough drinks to have him pass out.
That. I could, but this was at Cynthia Wood's Mitchell Pavilion, and Ian, you may not realize this, but I am not made of money. Beers are $20,
right?
Yeah, so,
I'm sure at that Dave Cause show, it was really bad.
It really was. It was amazing how drunken these Dave Cause fans were. No, it wasn't Dave Cause. It was Korn. But we're gonna take a break, and we'll come back with more exciting, fun things. Tell you about some cigars to watch for, and Oliva is recalling their lighters, and I have one of these, and so I'm not sure what to do with it. So we'll tell you all about it when we come back. That was kind of juicy.
Yeah.
I like it. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And while Ian's pouring some Oktoberfest to get our Oktoberfest party started here on the program, I want to mention, when we do drinking news, we are more often than not, I think, bringing you a story from the Sunshine State of Florida, because Florida Man is a never-ending source for drinking news. However, today we're going to celebrate a Florida man from Port Salerno, Florida. So this didn't make drinking news because usually there we're making fun of Florida Man. This is a man we're pretty excited about, actually. He says that it's a miracle that he, his wife, and their dog survived a tornado that destroyed his home recently in all of the storms that Florida has seen from the hurricanes. George Bustillo is his name, and he was taken aback, as you would be, when a tornado struck his home, trapping him and his wife and their dog under debris. It came out of nowhere, he said. The house exploded, and within 2 seconds, I found myself beneath the rubble. The tornado nearly claimed his life, but he was buried underneath that structure, and his car's dash camera actually captured the whole thing.
Wow.
But one neighbor rescued his wife from the rubble while another helped to free him. And remarkably, when he was rescued, he was still holding on to his cigar.
Wow.
So I gotta give some credit where credit is due for Mr. Bustillo. George Bustillo, for Smoking and Toasting. We salute you.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
I think I'm passing this one on. Yes.
So the
that's
first-
the
No,
second
I
one.
think
The
that
first-
one. I think that's yours, and then these two.
yours,
You,
yeah.
you need to pass one of these.
Oh, okay.
I've got one here. Is that the same?
I passed out
That's
both.
the first one I passed
One
you.
of
So
them
I
is
think it's
slightly lighter than the other.
Yeah, I think those look like the right ones. So, Ian, we're going to get to your cigar review here in a moment, but I thought first we would start just doing a little tasting, and then maybe once you taste the
I like
first one,
beer.
jump in and.
So the first
jump
one we
in and
have
tell me
here is
about your cigar.
Eureka Heights. We're very familiar with them. They sponsored
Von
us last
Wolfhausen.
month.
Yep.
This is the Von Wolfhausen. Feist beer is the best beer, is what it says.
And it's a good beer.
yeah, this is a good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Isn't that
is
great?
Malty.
I'm not much for beer, but that is delicious.
It really is, and it's got such a malt profile. One of my yearly favorites is the St. Arnold
Yes.
Oktoberfest, but I like this almost as much, if not as much, and it's very different in the flavor profile. This is just like I want to have a pretzel and a hot dog right now. That's just what it makes me feel like, you know.
Yes, or a hot dog with a pretzel bun.
Something salty.
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely.
It has that little crisp
Absolutely.
at the end.
Uh-huh.
Too.
Absolutely love it. So this one's highly recommended if you can get Eureka Heights where you are. I know the show's heard all over the country, and I don't think Eureka Heights is available outside of Texas. But
No,
if
but
you,
that's a good local. Go check your local for their Oktoberfest beers. It's so
That's
good.
right,
I
that's right.
love this season.
and it is always fun to go and drink them fresh at the brewery
Yes.
too. You'll sometimes get a really awesome Oktoberfest
Right from the
experience.
tap, just like the guy on The Simpsons. Where,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's right. Or like George from Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Ian, tell us about your cigar this week while we
So
taste
I
this
stopped by
second
Casa de
Oktoberfest.
Monte Cristo this morning and picked up a cigar. You know, I don't always pick up H. Upmann cigars. Sometimes I pass by it. It's kind of one of those brands that's always
Old
there.
iconic brand.
Yeah, and I saw one that it was pretty. This is the H. Upmann Special Edition Barbier.
Barbier.
Barbier. I think it's Barber, but
Yeah.
they spell it funny.
You actually brought one of these for me, so I'll
Yeah,
show it.
this is the Robusto,
Yeah.
and it's a barbershop pole.
Right, we can see the different colors there.
Right, which I assume is what Barbier means.
Mm-hmm.
The wrapper is Ecuadorian Connecticut and Sumatra, both Ecuadorian twisted together. The Indonesian binder in there, which I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
Nicaraguan and Dominican filler going on in there. It's a barbershop pole, oily and leathery with some veins, 2 bands on it. Pre-light sniff on this, chocolatey and earthy with hints of leather. Pre-light draw, punch is what I used to open this up. It had kind of a tight draw to it. Sweet, creamy coffee and cocoa is what I was getting right off the pre-light draw. The initial light, I got some intense pepper and sweet coffee with some earthiness to it. It was really nice. First third of cigar, sweet, creamy caramel and a touch of pepper and leather create a singularly unique flavor profile on this. It was so good, with hints of chocolate, coffee, stone fruit, sugar cane, and salt going on through there. The retrohale is salted caramel and earthy pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. You see it in the picture right here.
Yeah.
A proposed pairing on this, Scotch.
Yeah,
all day long.
like,
Scotchy,
yeah.
Scotch,
Scotch.
and definitely a sherry.
Scotchy McScotch face
yes.
is what you're looking for.
And then like something a little bit sweet with sherry cask finish is what I was thinking. So like a Macallan 12 or Balvenie Santa would go absolutely amazing with this. I think fantastic.
Balvenie Santa goes great with just about
This
anything.
is such a good whiskey, right?
Truly.
Yeah.
I love the Balvenie Caribbean cask too. That one really.
Yeah.
So and I think we're confused because the
Oh, no, the Glenmorangie Lasanta, the
Lasanta is
Balvenie Caribbean
Glenmorangie.
cast. Yeah, my bad.
We had some of that when I did my little, my latest little flight of whiskey thing with our good friend
so
Jim
good.
Heim. We
So
had some
good.
Caribbean cast.
Jim Heim will be coming up on a show in a few weeks here,
Yeah,
too.
good.
So the second third of the cigar, toast and nutty notes appear, and a woody aftertaste kind of lingers long. Retrohale is salted caramel and spicy oak. Solid ash, perfect burn in the last third of this. More chocolate, sweet creamy coffee, followed by toast and woody notes. Retrohale is salted caramel, chocolate, and a slight peppery note. Solid ash, perfect burn. This comes in at about a medium, on the lower side of medium strength. Price to quality. This thing comes in at $8.89. It gets an 8.
Nice.
It is so good.
All right, we'll talk more about
Under
that
$10.
when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Gulf Coast funk from the Suffers.
So groovy.
Ah, love it. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian, in the last segment, we had to kind of hurry to the end because of timing, but it sounds like you really enjoyed this cigar.
Solid 8. So our price to quality scale is a 1 to 10 scale. If you get a 5, you get exactly what you're paying for.
Right.
This one punches so far above its price class. I immediately, when I finished my cigar, went in and bought 3 more and gave you one.
Gave me one, so I'm excited. What did this cost again for the Robusto?
$8.89.
Not too bad for the Robusto. There was a day I would have said, "Holy moly, that's a lot." But these days with cigar prices,
these days that's pretty inexpensive, but that's in a great price point for something like that gives me this much pleasure.
And I smoke mostly Toros, but I find I'm always wish I had a couple more Robustos in the humidor for those times when I don't have as much time. But I really want to smoke. So, yeah, I mean, if this turns out to be as good as you're saying, I may go and get me some.
Well, so I went with that. They had the Toro size next to it, but that's the one I smoked. So I just grabbed a few more of those. I will try the next one.
Yeah,
the next size next time I go in.
Speaking of try the next one, have you tried the next beer? The first one we tried.
Back Pew.
The first one we tried was the Eureka Heights
Von
Wolfhausen, which was. It's just stellar.
So good, yeah. So this is Back Pew. Back
Pew
is another local one here. And this is their Kingsbrow Feist beer. This one, to me, has a little bit of baking spice in it.
It's got a little more bitterness than the Von Wolfhausen on the finish. But it strikes me as being maybe a little more authentically German.
It does
Feist beer.
Taste very German.
Yeah,
yes, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. It almost seems like they really went for authenticity on this in terms of tasting like a German
it's a
beer.
nice beer.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have some pretty good beers overall today, though.
I'm guessing so. You did tell me before the show there was one you left at home because it just wasn't really good.
I tried one.
You don't have to tell me.
I've tried one from a reputable brewery around here.
Yeah.
I bought a 6-pack of it.
Yeah,
and it was not up to par, so I just left that one at home.
Okay,
because I don't want to trash anyone.
Thank you for sparing us.
But and there's no sense in bringing one that I know is not particularly good.
We don't want to trash a brewery we like. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's out there. It's what it is.
Ian would never want to bring you anything bad to drink.
Oh no!
I somehow don't believe that.
I'm running a little low on Malort.
Mr. Malort over here. Jeez Louise. Ian, I think you have a lighter like this, don't you?
I just used it yesterday.
Yeah. I hope you didn't use it around any children. Because it's been recalled.
For why?
Yeah. Oliva has recalled.
Are children particularly flammable?
They have recalled this lighter and the ones that look just like it but are labeled with Cane and Siri V and Nub, which are all Oliva
right.
products. Apparently, does not have a child-resistant mechanism, which, by the way, I have to say, when I first read...
That's kind of why I like it.
When I first read it, it made me feel really bad about myself, because if that's not child-resistant, and I think about how many minutes it took me to figure out how to get it to work, it's not really reinforcing my inner fortitude
I'm
here.
picturing you with a medicine bottle right now.
Yeah,
Like having a heart attack trying to get the bottle open.
I was like, okay, how does this work? But anyway, they apparently do not have child-resistant mechanisms, and were not tested to the federal regulatory requirements for child resistance. And young children under the age of 5 could ignite the lighters, posing fire and burn.
So
hazards.
I never give anyone under the age of 5 a cigar.
Yeah, and here on the
Just waste
website,
them.
and this is the Consumer Product Safety Commission website, it goes on to say, remedy, dispose.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Consumer Product Safety Commission. That ain't happening. I
Throw it
really
away.
like this lighter.
I like
and I'm not a child.
You know what I feel is going to happen is
What?
that before that thing is off the shelves, it's going to be sold out. People are going to be like, oh, a lighter that I don't have to mess with like that? Come on, let's go. Let's go. They're going to go get them.
Yeah, I have a lot of other lighters that I actually have like a little bit of an issue with, like the ones where you have to pop the thing open and then there's just a very narrow place. You can't quite get the cigar in there because of the lid that pops up. I have a few of those. This one's great. It works very consistently. It's a single flame, and I wouldn't give this to
In
kids
other words,
unless I really didn't
it's
like
called
the kids.
back. Send it back or dispose of if you have kids.
Yeah. There you go.
They should just dispose of them to your address.
Yeah, that's
You'll
right.
take care of it
I'll
for
take
them.
extra ones because
I
lighters
like
don't
how
last forever.
dude, I was using mine yesterday. It's funny you
Is
said
this
that.
a new lighter?
No,
Is this something that is new to the market?
I got mine about maybe a year ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I really like this one. Again, I've got a lot of lighters, and only a few of them I would call favorites.
So that's a favorite of mine because it's so slim. It's so easy to fit in your pocket.
very easy to put in a pocket.
right?
Yes,
Even in
absolutely.
a shirt pocket, it doesn't drag your pocket down.
Yep.
You know.
Totally.
So I don't know. It's one of my go-to lighters. It works every time too.
You've passed us another beer.
So
Should
this
we
is
try
the
this?
Urban South Oktoberfest. Now, Urban South, we have a location here in Houston, and there's
Right, and there's one in New
Austin.
Orleans.
It's-
There's one in New Orleans.
Sorry,
Yeah.
in New Orleans. My fault. Yes.
Yep.
Well, I'm all over the place with it today. And Urban South, like I don't know that I've had anything from them that's bad.
This is wonderful. No,
you're a fan of sours.
I
you
love
mentioned.
Urban South.
Yeah, they do a lot of sours. And
All
stuff
of the
like that.
sours.
and they have a
You
wonderful.
probably like a lot of Martin House as well.
Martin House, Salty Lady, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good beer. They have a wonderful IPA. It's the HTX. I don't know if it's
Yes.
available outside of Houston since it's kind of a Houston themed beer.
HTX
but that's a
is
wonderful
awesome. And
IPA.
it's just in a plain white can with the HTX and
Yep,
blue and
it's
red on.
wonderful.
It's so good.
This is really
delicious.
delicious. Yeah, I like this a lot. In fact, that ranks right up there.
We got quite a few to get through. Too.
Baking spice for sure. Mm-hmm. Almost has a little bit of that. Like it almost makes me in my mind picture the dough with the layer of flour on it. You know what I mean?
This kind of rides the balance between the last two, whereas the Von Wolfhausen was very sweet and very malty right up front, and the Kingsbrew from Backpew was very baking spice and a little bitter. This one's kind of somewhere in between, but it really hits the spot really nicely.
Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this. Our special guest is Sarah Troxell from Iconic Brands. Sarah, we're going to talk about the brands that Iconic represents that are, in fact, Iconic brands. And we'll be sampling one of those a little bit later on in the show. Wanted to take a moment, though, and tell you guys about the cigar that I smoked this week. And Ian kind of beat me to reviewing this one on the show, which, I have to admit, it got to me a little bit because after all, we have well established that here on Smoking and Toasting, I am the resident AJ Fernandez fanboy.
Yes.
So when Ian was the first to review the AJ Fernandez Dias de Gloria Brazil Toro, yeah, that didn't
sit right
didn't
with you.
sit right with me. And then to add insult to injury, he had to go and give it a stellar review, which made me really jealous. And jealousy, as we know, is not something to be proud of. So I had to go out and try the cigar for myself. And after last week's show on location at Stogie's, I went into the humidor. They had some. I grabbed one. And Dias de Gloria, as we all know, is Spanish for Dias of Gloria.
Yes.
And someone told me,
translation.
though, it actually means days of glory, and that it's meant to refer to the cigars that AJ's father smoked back in Cuba before Fidel Castro took power. Now, as with most of AJ's sticks, it's very pretty. Comes in slightly box pressed, as you'll see here, in a cedar wrap that covers about half the cigar. The Brazil in the name refers to the Brazilian Matafina wrapper that AJ uses in this blend, draped over Nicaraguan binder and filler tobacco. I slipped the cedar wrapping off this 6.5 by 50 cigar, used a V-cut to get started, and the pre-light sniff and cold draw both gave me hay, leather, and a little hint of chocolate. But I didn't stay with that for long because I'd already waited for a long time to buy the stick. So I lit up and braced myself for the inevitable NPB.
Oh.
The Nicaraguan Pepper Blast happened.
I'm not going to do the song.
For
today.
sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you won't embarrass us in front of our guests. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The Nicaraguan Pepper Blast happened for sure, but it did take a moment to establish itself. It wasn't like immediate like it is with some of the Nicaraguan cigars. But once
Doesn't that make it more of a Nicaraguan pepper grenade?
maybe so, because you had to wait. We wait for the pin to
3,
drop, right?
2, 1, there.
Anyway, once it settled down after it detonated, it only slightly it's settled down, if only slightly, I should say. The flavors of the cigar began to assert themselves: charred oak, dried fruit, and a creamy quality that helped to balance out the pepper. Big time pepper.
Pepper. Good.
Spoiler alert, the Dias de Gloria Brazil Toro remained peppery all the way to the nub. The pepper, though, varied as it smoked. Black pepper most of the time, but occasionally it veered towards a more white pepper note, and even at times reminded me of the red pepper flakes that you get at Pizza Hut and sprinkle on your pizza from the little package, you know? By the way, I read that in a review, so I'm not, I didn't make that up, but I did recognize the actual red pepper.
I actually bought a
flakes
big thing of red
for
pepper
Pizza Hut.
flakes from the
Yeah.
grocery store.
Can you buy those? Can you
yeah.
you get like a 10 of them at Costco?
You get a big old, like, big plastic.
Probably get a gallon of them
Like
at
the same thing
Costco.
over the Parmesan type.
The second third seemed to expand the creaminess and add notes of vanilla and more charred oak. There was also a hint of toasted almonds, and this combination made the cigar remind me a bit of a candy bar, a very peppery candy bar. Final third really showcased the complexity of the Dias de Gloria Brazil. I've smoked plenty of the regular Dias de Glorias, and I really like what the Brazilian wrapper brought to this blend, making it more interesting and varied as it smoked. Dark cherry jam, toasted nuts, creamy vanilla, and did I mention pepper? Lots of pepper both on the tongue and the retrohale. Ash was solid. The burn was near perfect. I did not touch it up once, and it stayed consistent all the way through. Personally, I really enjoy cigars with a lot of pepper, particularly if it's balanced by other notes, like the creaminess and toasted nuttiness of this blend from AJ. But if you're not a fan of peppery cigars, the Dias de Gloria Brazil is probably not a cigar for you. Overall, this is one of my favorite of AJ's blends, right up there for me with the Bella Artes Maduro and the San Lotano Requiem Maduro. I'd suggest pairing this with almost any nice bourbon, from Buffalo Trace to Elijah Craig Single Barrel 18 or anything in between. I had it with
If you have some of that Elijah Barrel, I'll take one.
I had it with an Old Forester 86 proof. I can get you some of that if you want. And it worked like a charm. The AJ Fernandez Dias de Gloria Brazil Toro is a $15 cigar. More expensive than the cigars I usually smoke. Worth every penny and then some. I would put this up against almost any $20 cigar I've ever smoked.
I mean, you have made a
And it would
Matafina.
it would hold its own. Yeah. I love this cigar, and even though I don't smoke a lot of $15 sticks, I will be getting more of these. And as long as you're okay with a lot of pepper, I cannot recommend them highly enough. Price to quality, 6.5.
Nice. Good day for cigars.
Even at a $15 price point. Yeah. It's just really, really fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one, actually.
So, Ian, you have been busy. You have poured us another
Sam
beer.
Adams Oktoberfest. And I'm going to tell you something after I tasted this.
Okay.
It's so close to Sam Smith's Nut Brown Ale.
Yeah.
Like, it tastes so similar
Yeah.
to Sam Smith's Nut Brown Ale. I had to do a double take. I don't know if you're familiar with that beer, but
I am. And you're
the
right. It
finish
does
is
have.
incredibly similar.
It does have a lot of. Now, it's not quite as brown, although
No.
it is fairly brown.
no,
but
no, it's a little on the lighter side, but it's real close.
Do you like this one?
It's okay.
Yeah.
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 I like the character. Like, so far out of all the ones we've had, the Urban South and the Von Wolfhausen are my favorites.
Yeah, I think the Eureka Heights was my favorite too.
I will say though, this is I love Sam Adams. I think their Boston Lager is one of the most amazing beers of all time,
one of the most important beers.
Yes, absolutely. And I love some of the other things that they've done. But I have often found that I'm not as crazy about their seasonals as I am about seasonals from other brewers. So I had maybe lower expectations for this, and I think it's really quite good.
It's nice.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I think their cherry wheat is a bit much. Mm-hmm. But people love it, and they put it out every single year.
And they do a lemony summer beer that it doesn't work that well for me.
I'm never a fan of
like a Radler, or
it's really more like a lemony ale, like a lemony summer ale. But there's just a little too much lemon in it. Like I really like summer ales, but this one just doesn't quite. It doesn't quite do it for me. But again, I have so many of their other beers that I just absolutely love that it's hard to say anything bad about those guys because I love that how important, as Ian said, how important their beers are and what they have meant to craft brewing and how they've been a standard bearer. All right, we are going to take a break. Ian's pouring more, and in a few moments, we're going to talk a little bit more about iconic brands and Bombay Sapphire Gin, and we'll be sampling some of this stuff. And so, by the way, I have to warn you, I take no responsibility for what happens to me when I drink gin, just so you know. So this could be a very, very interesting show. It's Smoking and Toasting, craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
Love those things.
Ian, I noticed you've poured us one more of these just before we got to the last break. What is this Oktoberfest?
This is Bell's. Bell's out of Michigan.
So Bell's, a wildly respected brewery out of, I think, Comstock, Michigan. Is it where Bell's is located? I know it's Michigan, but that is a really good beer. It's not quite as malty as some of the others. It's not quite as baking spicy as some of the others, but it is just so edible, and it does lean in that Marzen direction.
This is interesting because it's not as sweet right up front, but boy, does the sweetness develop on your tongue after you take that sip. It's really nice. I love the flavor profile of this.
It's got a little bit of a Doritos effect going on that makes you want more after you've
out of all the ones that we've tried, this one might be the most sessionable, like the most
could keep drinking.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Keep coming back.
I would agree. Now, I have always thought of St. Arnold's Oktoberfest as being very sessionable, but this one just has that pour me another one, friend, vibe to it at the end of that. So, all right.
Just FYI, this is the first one I went back for seconds.
Well, so that's very interesting. And I look, we've always loved Bell's as a brewery here on the show. We've tried a number of things from them. And I know we're trying to get them on to do like a Zoom show with us. So hopefully we'll be able to work something out.
I've sent an
with
email
those
out
guys.
to them, but it has not been answered. So I may have to.
They're very busy there at Bell's.
Have to email everybody I can get in touch with there.
You may have to get in the car and drive to Michigan and knock on their door and go, "Hey, I emailed you.
I'm right here." Stand outside with the boombox above my head.
Just bring the podcast equipment. Right. We're here. We're doing this now.
That's right. Sarah Troxell is with us today from Iconic Brands, and Sarah has brought a couple of different iterations of Bombay Sapphire. But before we get to tasting, Sarah, Iconic Brands, what else would we know from your portfolio?
So Iconic Brands is Bombay Sapphire, Grey Goose, and Saint Germain.
So Grey Goose I'm extremely familiar with. Tell me a little bit about Saint Germain.
Saint Germain is a French elderflower liqueur. It's made from 100% hand-picked fresh elderflowers from Europe. So
how different is that from a taste standpoint from gin, which is obviously very floral and has a lot of that sort of floral characteristic to it?
Totally. There are tons of florality in gin. Saint Germain elderflower liqueur is definitely a liqueur, so it's going to have a lot of sweetness as opposed to gin is going to have no added sugar. And fresh elderflowers really give like a bright, like when you taste Saint Germain, it has so much more depth and flavor and brightness than you think. It is all tropical fruit and peach for me well before you get to those floral notes if you like stick your nose in a glass of Saint Germain. It's to me me lychee, peach, tropical fruits. I have to reach
Any
for the
dragon fruit? Because
No,
no
dragon fruit coming through for me on that one.
Okay.
Good call out.
But lychee and
so it's going to breed more tropical fruit for me.
Right. I
As
love
opposed to
tropical
floral.
things. Right. Okay.
It's a misconception
right,
because you hear elderflower, you think potpourri, flowers.
Absolutely. That's
floral.
where my brain totally went.
Totally.
And that to me is something I describe more to a gin flavoring than something like this liqueur. But if you're talking tropical, I mean that's a whole other thing, you know?
Definitely.
That's
I
a
love
whole
it in a
other thing.
margarita in place of triple sec, in a sidecar in place of triple sec also. It just brings like a totally different flavor profile to the party. Really fun.
Well, that's very interesting because I like that idea because I don't use triple sec. I use like an orange liqueur usually when I'm making a margarita. And I guess triple sec is an orange liqueur technically.
It's like all orange liqueurs, all triple secs are orange liqueurs, but not all orange liqueurs are triple secs.
There you go. That's
It's how you make your orange liqueur.
I use one of the ones that's not a triple sec. That's what I guess I was trying to say. But
just a fun substitution.
I bet that's incredibly interesting.
But yeah, I would love to try that with the Saint Germain. That sounds like a cool idea.
That sounds like a second show.
It does.
Hey.
It does.
I'll bring cocktails next time, you guys. Not just hot gin from my trunk.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So, Ian, I know you're a gin guy. You enjoy.
I mean, if this is the kind of junk you have in your trunk, I'm all about it.
Hey.
Did I just do that?
Just like to point out that Ian just
I
used
set it
the
up.
phrase "junk in your trunk" with our guest.
I really set it up. You can't hardly fault him.
It's like to point that out. That was not me. I know you expected it to have been me. It was not me. So this first one that you poured us, because I know you brought two different Bombay Sapphires.
I did bring two
here.
different Bombay Sapphires.
So-
We're tasting Bombay Sapphire Original.
So this is.
I wasn't even aware that there was more than one Bombay
I
Sapphire.
don't think I was either.
This is one of the first liquors I ever bought on my own to make mixed drinks with.
Yeah, and
I
you made,
remember
what,
standing
martinis?
there making this decision on a friend's recommendation, and I was making martinis because all I had to do was really make it cold.
Right. That's the wonderful thing about martinis is they're not hard to make. You either stir them or you shake them, depending on what religion you are, and then you pour them into the glass and maybe top it off with a little.
Now, my
little
brother,
snack, maybe. A lift and a snack.
We hadn't talked about this in a while, but I have a brother that lives in Minnesota, and he will make on occasion he'll make what he calls his Sub-Zero martini, where he takes his bottle of I'm blanking on it gin, sorry, and sticks it
I should have
in the
been able to
snow
help you with that.
outside
Okay.
next to his glass that is stuck in the snow outside. And after they've been out there for 15 minutes in the, I don't know, minus 20-ish, he brings them in and makes a martini, and this stuff will pour like syrup.
Yes.
Wow.
It'll get
So
that.
cold.
Wow.
because the same thing can happen to vodka if you put it in the freezer. It gets a much thicker consistency, and I'm sure gin. I haven't put gin
When
in the
he
freezer, but I'm
puts
sure it would do the
ice,
same.
when he puts ice in the glass, the ice gets frosties on it.
I love
Like
it.
how freaky is
Because
that?
the gin is colder than water.
It's crazy, right?
As
Science.
the Reverend Horton Heat says in his famous song "It's Martini Time,"
Martini time.
make it with a layer of ice this time. I love that line.
So I made a pseudo martini here. I put one chip of ice in here.
I would love a chip of ice to try this. 'cause
Yeah, I
I'm
poured some in
enjoying
the glass
this.
here, so please.
Pass the ice. Pass
Thank
the
you.
ice.
That's
Thank
yes.
you.
And I love the flavor of this anyway. So you get a natural sweetness when you taste it.
Yes.
Even room temperature straight. There's a natural sweetness that you kind of, and I don't know if it's the alcohol, the way it hits the tongue or whatever it is, but it's such a nice thing. And then you get this floral backing, and then you get this great juniper aftertaste. And it's so good, just in general, for drinks that are made around this. So nice. And I personally love a martini. A well done martini is so nice. And so
With or without vermouth is the question we all are wanting to know, though.
Okay, so I'm gonna speak to this. When I make a martini, I've tried making them with and without vermouth. Was never felt like I could quite nail the vermouth part of this and get it where always felt like I used a little too much, didn't use enough, couldn't tell. They have at Specs, which is where I generally shop for liquors, they have a number of their own like house brand of different jars of olives and stuff. They make a pimento stuffed olive that's in vermouth in the jar. So now that's what I use, and it is the perfect.
You get that little salty brine
of vermouth for the
little bit
martini.
of vermouth
Well,
botanicals.
My wife and
So,
I love dirty martinis anyway.
I'll do a vermouth wash,
yeah.
but when I say wash, I don't always splash all the vermouth out of the martini.
Little rinse.
Right. Little rinse. Yeah,
but
there you
leave
go.
a little bit left in the bottom of the glass,
a little
maybe.
bit left in the bottom.
Quarter ounce.
Lots of
then,
olive though.
And then olives.
I like
3.
I really like dirty martinis. As a friend of mine's wife once told me, she said, "Order me a dirty martini and tell him to make it so dirty there's still lipstick on the glass." And that's kind of how I like my martinis too. Lots and lots of olive juice. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Hour 2 is on the way. Welcome back. Yeah, I love that, but it feels like the guitar player's a little sharp. Maybe there.
That was not actually my band.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I'll blame that on Rob then. Rob, get it together, brother. Nice to have you guys on with us for hour number 2 of Smoking and Toasting. It is show number 403, and our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. See, that's bad when you try to, just give someone a friendly insult, and then you realize, oh, I screwed up. That wasn't even his band. So sorry about that. Hey, some cigars to watch for while Ian is pouring. In response to popular demand, Honduran cigar maker JRE Tobacco is bringing back last year's Aladino limited edition.
Awesome.
And this year it's returned to the market with a larger production and expected to start reaching retailers at the beginning of November, which is just a few days away now. JRE says the consumer and industry response were so positive that people were asking for it, so they just had to bring it back. The size and blend will be the same as last year's release. It's a 6x52 Toro, and it's still made with exclusively Honduran tobacco. And we're fans of JRE and Aladino tobacco.
100%.
And it was hard not to be. We got invited to come down to Honduras and visit their factory and their fields, and it was just such an educational time.
What an amazing time that was.
Yeah.
And speaking with Justo and Julio.
And Julio, yeah.
Like those guys, they so passionate, love what they're doing.
Yeah, it was impossible not to kind of like catch the fever with them for
100%.
the whole process. So anyway, always enjoy their cigars. They are not something you generally find online. You have to find these in retail shops, and we encourage you to do that.
I love though when a company listens to the general public. Like when Oliva put out that 135th.
Yeah,
and
it was supposed to be really limited. Yeah,
instant. Absolute smash hit, and now they put it out all the time, and it's a great cigar.
The return of the Wolfman just in time for Halloween, like a sequel to an old horror flick. Tatuaje Cigars has brought back the Wolfman. It's a limited edition cigar they first released back in 2011 as a part of their yearly Monster Series release. So this will be the Wolfman Redux, however you say that. It is the 4th released in their Redux Monster Series, and it is shipping now. It's made by My Father Cigars.
Those are so good, that whole series.
Yeah, and it's made with a shaggy foot resembling the pelt of a werewolf. The large box press torpedo is 7.5 by 52, and it sells for about $13 each. The blend's the same as the original cigar with an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper and Nicaraguan tobacco, medium to full-bodied blend according to the company. So this smoke joins their Monster Series, which already includes cigars based on classic characters like Dracula, Frankenstein, and
that whole
Mummy.
series is fantastic.
Yeah. By the way, I was reading something about this the other day. It's like, so what the monsters do to you, like Dracula will he'll bite you and suck your blood, right? What does the Mummy do? If the Mummy catches you, how do you meet your doom? Like, what happens?
Apparently, he chases you around hilariously if you're Abbott and Costello.
Yeah. And by the way, when you unravel all of that and discover the guy underneath it, he'll say something like, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you stupid kids.
If it wasn't for these meddling kids.
Yeah. so there's that. You have poured us yet another Oktoberfest. I have a feeling
we got them coming, baby.
I'm feeling we're falling behind, so we should move through this here. What have you poured us this time?
So this is the Southern Star Oktoberfest. Southern Star is just north of Houston here.
Yes, in Conroe.
Right?
Yep. This is pretty good.
It's pretty nice.
It's pretty crisp, right?
Yeah, it's got like a green apple kind of crispness to the finish that makes it really interesting.
So you've got that Oktoberfest sort of Marzen kind of flavor profile, but then it crisps on the end, like you
that
said.
malt
it's sort
up
of
front, right? But
yeah.
then it has and it's distinctly green apple in my palate. This is very nice. I also
there aren't any of these that you've poured that I haven't liked.
Let's talk about this next one too. This next one is from Allstat Brewing. Now
these guys are known for their German style beers, correct?
When you're going out to the Allstat Brewery, it's a little bit like driving through the country. You're in Texas, so you're passing peaches, you're passing wine, peaches and wine, and a freaking castle pops up.
I love this.
Look up a picture of the Allstat Brewery.
And the
they
castle
put a castle
is the brewery. I love it.
Texas.
I absolutely love it.
And it's beautiful. It is wonderful. The food there, the whole ambiance, they nailed it. It's absolutely fantastic. And guess what? Their beers are that good too. I haven't tried this one yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be pretty
But they are kind of specializing in more
very German style
yeah.
beers, right? They have very the whole ambiance, the whole labeling and everything.
Sure, it looks
German.
very traditionally German, yeah. That either looks like it came from Germany or from the Epcot Center, Germany.
Well, we get such a big German influence in Texas, you
right?
know?
Well, yeah. If you go to a city like New
and it's on the way to
Braunfels-
Fredericksburg.
Yeah, if you go to New Braunfels or Fredericksburg, there's
Right,
huge
it's actually
German
between those
American
two.
communities. Yeah, in fact, Oktoberfest in New Braunfels is a blast. By the way, if you've
yes.
never done it,
And
it's a
there's,
blast.
we're talking about going by towns called Schulenburg and
Right,
all those
right.
Bernie, BEO.
Right.
They all make kolaches.
Bjorn, as I used to call
Bjorn.
it. This is actually quite good. This is very
one of the best ones we've tried.
reminds me of like a Helles Lager or something of that nature, but it is just very drinkable.
This one
I love
has
it
so
this
much
cold.
balance to it, like between the sweet and the crisp. This one is, I think, one of the most stellar Oktoberfest we've had yet.
Wow, we've had so many good ones here. This is, what's interesting to me is I feel like if we had done this a few years ago, and we did, by the way, but I feel like there wouldn't be quite this many really outstanding ones.
Well, I remember us doing this a few years ago. We did the blind taste test, and we had, I think, 9.
Yeah.
Today, I had to limit it to 13. There's so many out. Everyone's doing one, and I think it's fantastic because it is one of my favorite styles of beer. I love malty beers.
Yeah, you're a malt beer.
Like, give me
fan.
malt all day long, and I would drink this floating on the river.
Yeah.
Although probably not now because the river's really cold.
Really cold. Yeah.
I don't know. You could probably find some warm rivers here in Texas.
Well, not. Well, there's a reason they call the Frio River the Frio
Frio.
That
River,
is true. That is absolutely true.
and the Kamal is not much further behind it as far as how cold it is.
No,
So-
I'm sorry, you're mispronouncing. It's Kamala. Sorry, I had to go there. I apologize.
You did it.
I apologize for
And the
going.
Guadalupe River also very cold. Like, all those rivers over there are very cold.
Yeah. I always say we won't get political on the show. I did. I apologize. But,
I can't work like this.
yeah, I know. No, this is very good. This is so. I'm not as familiar with their other beers. Are there other beers as outstanding
Buy
as this
them.
one? Yeah.
The Kolsch is amazing.
Yeah.
The Kolsch makes me feel like I'm in Cologne,
Yeah,
sitting
it's-
by the river.
All their beers are so German and so good.
Yeah.
Like every one of them. But the Kolsch is outstanding. I mean, they have a Pilsner, they have a Kolsch, they have a what else? They have a few others. And they're all like the same kind of label with a slightly different color. Like this one has the light blue, but it all has this kind of checkered pattern. They're so good.
I find that pretty impressive. I got to admit, pretty impressive.
I can't believe you've served me like 8 beers that I actually like also. That
See-
aren't sour beers or
Right,
just like
sour.
crisp
You're usually a sour
crushables.
fan,
I'm
right?
a sour and light crisp.
Right.
This is a sign of all like super high quality beers.
Ian,
to me.
let's do another one before the end of this segment. What do you say?
Well, it just so happens.
By the way, while he's pouring, we talked about this last week, but I didn't get to the actual article. But it was something that we could have told them and saved them the money of doing this study. But a new study shows that local craft beer consumers lose loyalty when their favorite brands are acquired by big beer. Yeah.
How much money did they spend on that study? Because they could have paid me, and I could have said, you know what?
Paid you half the money,
Local
right?
craft beers lose loyalty. when they sell to big business.
The research study was published in the journal Marketing Science, and it is called Local Market Reaction to Brand Acquisitions, Evidence from the Craft Beer Industry. The authors of the study found that there is a 15% drop in baseline product demand in local craft beer markets following the acquisition of specific craft beers by large companies. There's a strong emotional connection between consumer and brand, and that can induce a sense of psychological ownership of the brand itself by the consumer.
There's also the fact that they'll change the recipes and or just discontinue Carbach. And even after they say no, they're not going to change anything.
Right, which they always do say. So I would say that it's interesting. So let's say you and I had a brewery.
You and I had a brewery,
and it was fairly successful, right? Craft beer brewery. Yeah. It was doing pretty well. Big beer comes along, makes us an offer we can't refuse, and we go, I can't refuse it.
Yes,
it's too much money, right? So we take the money.
I have a price.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everyone does. Some is higher than others, but yeah, I think everyone does.
If I got to call myself a sellout for a few $1 million,
yeah,
then I'm a sellout.
Yeah,
for a few $1 million.
And you'll be happy.
Correct.
Right.
You'll sleep just fine on your much nicer mattress.
Yes, I
right?
will.
Stuffed with money.
Yeah, that's right. I always wanted to roll around in the money like
it's a hybrid mattress.
Like Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge McDuck.
Yes.
Yeah, I always thought that would be funny and fun, but I've never had enough money.
Okay.
By the way, it
Turns out-
doesn't work as well with coins.
Yeah, it turns out
so I
change
can
is
tell you.
really hard.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I
and they
think
kind
they
of
did
stick
that on
to you.
Robot Chicken once,
Yeah.
and it just
I would just like to interject with, oh my gosh.
For the beer that you just
Have you
tasted.
tried this one yet?
Oh, wow.
This one is so good. This is the 100%
This one's-
favorite so far.
This one's like a pastry of some sort. There's like a little chocolate and
100%
something
favorite
in it.
so
Wow.
far.
It's
That's
the
really
most
good.
expressive for sure.
This is the 11 Below.
Wow, this is good.
This
What's
is
it
a
called?
local one here.
It's just
from
called
Houston. 11
Oktoberfest?
Below Oktoberfest.
Wow, that's delicious.
And it is outrageously good. Remember when we did the blind taste test? This was the one that that I actually put above the St. Arnold one.
Wow. Well, this almost makes me think I just had a little slice of pie, like a pumpkin
so
pie, maybe
good.
something not too sweet, but just that a little bit of sweet. Oh, it's.
I would
it's
wear
hard to
this like
describe.
cologne, and officers would love me.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. So let's say you and I had the brewery. It's successful. Big beer comes along. They make us an offer we can't refuse, and we sell. But we're still there running it, right?
Yeah.
So now we lose, according to this article, and I think it's probably pretty accurate. We lose a good chunk of loyal customers because we sold out. A 15% drop in baseline product.
Yeah,
right?
but remember, at that point, it's not we anymore because you sold it. So it's just like, you know.
But the brand, we're still working
But,
there, right?
okay,
And we're
so-
You're still working there.
yeah,
Okay,
right.
I get that.
But
Yeah,
here's what's
yeah.
also happening. When Budweiser or AB InBev or whatever you want to call them, all your beers are belong to us. When they buy you, your distribution gets much
Well,
bigger.
that's the thing.
Instantaneously.
That's the thing. I still get frustrated when I go to a restaurant, a nice restaurant, where I'm going to drop some serious money on a meal for my wife and myself, and they bring me the beer list, and the only quote unquote craft beers that they have are, Carbach or something
Yeah.
that's been bought.
Yeah, macro brews.
Because to me, it's like
Or-
your beer buyer. They're just being
macro
lazy.
craft, if you will.
They're just being lazy. Like there's really good ones out there.
No, you just bought.
but
You
you're
just bought
getting them from
directly
the
off the Silver Star truck or
you're-
whoever. their
Exactly, you're getting them from the
distributor is.
same guy that just carried in the Budweiser. That's
Yeah.
all. And to me, it's lazy. Not that their beers are bad. Their beers aren't bad. Carbach beers are actually pretty good, but I can tell you about a better IPA than their IPA. I can tell you a better, Pilsner than their
You
Pilsner.
could, you could put money in local pockets
Mm-hmm.
all day long and have better beers on top of it.
But at this point, the people that bought us already put the money in our pocket. We're just laughing all the way.
But
to
we
the bank.
also feel, well, that's okay, though, because, hey, there's a price. And
Right.
if you made that money, I am proud of you, my friend.
I'm with you on this.
Can't hate
but-
the game, right? We're all
Right,
looking
right.
to retire.
I mean, if we built a beautiful brewery that had beautiful beers and everything, and someone comes along and says, "Hey, we're going to give you millions for this." Well, I'm going to be a millionaire.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be happy to buy my own beer
And
from
you know what?
Yeah, and you know that larger footprint might have made up for that 50%.
You know what I can do after
might
that?
have.
I can go make really good beers at a different brewery.
I love that idea.
Starting up
See,
a new
that
one. And
is
I've
the
seen a
thing
lot
to
of
do.
people.
Bigger and better.
That's the thing to do.
More
Bigger
money.
and better may include drinking news as well as more gin. It's all coming up here on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And speaking of fine spirits, we have Sarah Troxell with us. From Iconic Brands, they do Grey Goose, and they also do Bombay Sapphire, two really well-known names in the spirit industry. Obviously, Grey Goose. I think of Grey Goose. Did Grey Goose come along like in the 90s? Is that when it came
It did.
around?
97.
Because
Yeah.
I think of Grey Goose as being part of that when suddenly we all became aware that vodka could be a little better.
Yeah.
You know what I
It was
mean?
like a
It
little
was
bit
literally
elevated,
designed
yeah.
to be a premium vodka
Right,
in a category that was missing premiumization.
Right. And then it came along, and then there were a number of the Belvederes and things that I think followed that, or at least were very, very close to it in terms of when they were released, and it almost like elevated the whole category
Absolutely.
of vodka in a pretty serious way.
Just by caring about the ingredients and what we're using.
And it's still
Yep.
still one of the better vodkas that you can buy, in my opinion. And I think I mentioned this earlier.
That's before Absolute decided to flavor their vodkas with everything.
Oh yeah. You can. Do you know that you can get like Absolute cinnamon and like crazy stuff like that? Like, it's unbelievable to me. The
Absolute
different
breakfast
kinds,
taco.
yeah, right? The different kinds of Absolute, the Absolute pumpernickel. You know, come on, what? Who's drinking it?
No, but so there really wasn't a premium category before they came
Correct,
up
for
with
Grey
Before
that.
Grey
Goose.
Goose, yeah.
It was definitely inspired by other premium, like cognacs especially, and our master distillers saw the opportunity for premiumization of vodka in the category.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems so simple now, but
Right.
people had not done
Right,
that.
a high end
Right.
version of something. Everybody's trying to premiumize their offerings, right? Yeah,
Before
but-
that, we were just drinking Smirnoff and whatever
Correct.
whatever the normal.
I mean, does it
brands
have
were.
a handle to make it easy to hold on to,
Hey, let's
or
not
does it
knock the
bounce
hand-
when I drop
Let's
it?
not knock the handle or the bouncing. That can be important. You know, that can be important. You know?
I mean, that's good whiskey right there.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason, by the way, that it has to be plastic is because it lives on that lower shelf. Sometimes when you're picking it up, if it slips, you've got further for it to fall than if it was just right here and you put it in your cart.
Gotcha.
See what I'm saying? It needs to be able to
Needs
bounce.
to have a little bounce.
That's really important. Grey
No,
Goose,
I can see why elevating that would be a
Grey Goose is not like Bumbles. Bumbles bounce. Grey Goose does not
not
bounce.
so much.
Yeah.
No.
So, but it's it really is a good vodka. And then Bombay Sapphire. This is probably. Would I be correct if I said this is probably the best known brand of gin?
Maybe so. You know, I don't know. We're definitely in the top 3 or 4. I think
Yeah.
Tanqueray might actually edge us out on that one, unfortunately.
Tanqueray is
but it
pretty
has a little
well
more
known.
recognition.
You're right.
But we're right up there. We've been, making gin for a really long time, and Bombay Sapphire separates itself by being
So-
the only vapor infused gin.
Right.
So it's
what
giving you a-
what does that mean?
It means that instead of boiling our botanicals inside the still, which is really extracting all of the oils, which is a great thing, we are vapor infusing it. So instead of the botanicals going into the still with the neutral grain spirit, they are in a vapor chamber after the line arm. So our neutral grain spirit is boiled, the vodka is rising up, and then it passes through baskets with the botanicals in it. So they're
I was going to ask.
literally blasted with vodka steam, basically.
I was going to ask, when you say neutral grain
Interesting.
spirit, you're basically talking vodka.
Correct. All
So-
gin starts with
All gin starts as
high-proof vodka.
high-proof vodka, and then the botanicals are added to it.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So tell me what's different about
So
one.
the second gin we're tasting is actually our Mercy and Lemon.
Lemony.
So Bombay Sapphire Premier Cru is designed to hero our botanicals. At Bombay Sapphire, we actually source all of our botanicals directly from farmers and cooperatives, whereas most gins are made with botanicals that are sourced from brokers, like the Amazon of basically botanicals. We have partnerships with growers and farmers all over the world, and that's what enables us to have a really distinct terroir to our gin. Our botanicals are very special. We have complete control over how they're grown. So we want to hero that. We want to champion that. And that's what we're doing with our Premier Cru. And right now you guys are tasting the Mercy and Lemon. So this is highlighting our citrus peels. This is actually coming from...
So I would usually run away from something that says lemon because I've tasted so many lemon flavored things.
Well, a lot of lemon vodka is
And
just
let's
nasty.
just mention that Lemon Pledge probably tastes about the same.
Yeah. Oh, you're 100% right. But that said,
But this right
if you're
here,
going to make a vodka, I'm sorry, not a vodka. If you're going to make a martini with a lemon twist, you're adding that lemon
Extra
rind,
lemon
that
peel.
little extra bit of lemon
yeah,
peel.
but that's fresh lemon. That's
get-
different.
Right. But see, that's more what this reminds me
This
of.
Right.
this does not taste like lemon flavor.
No, absolutely. And
This
and
tastes
that's
like lemon, and it's interesting because there's a sweetness to it that you get from the Bombay. Like I mentioned that you get that right in the front of that. Are the same botanicals used in the original as here, and then they have lemon as well?
So we do use the lemon in Bombay Sapphire Original, but in the Mercy and Lemon in our Premier Cru, we have more, basically double the lemon peel,
Okay.
and they're also coming from late harvest lemons.
Right,
So they're
'cause
coming from second harvest lemons, and it's balanced also with orange and mandarin.
I'm
so
still
you're
getting some floral, but there's so much more citrus in this. But the citrus feels very natural, and it feels
Right, it feels
and
like-
there's a sweetness to the lemon that
and maybe it's because it's more of the rind, more of the peel
They're hand
flavor
peeled.
that you're getting. Right, they're hand peeled. So it gives it more authenticity. It's like when you're using lemon for a martini, or when you're using lime for a margarita. The general rule is, if you have to squeeze a bottle to get it, you're doing it wrong.
you're doing
Fresh
it
is
wrong.
best.
Yeah, fresh is there's
And
no substitute.
But that's what I get here. The lemon is very distinct and fresh. And does the word crisp make sense
Absolutely.
in this context?
Absolutely.
Because it's got that crispness to it.
But it also
is
has
the way I
a
would describe
warmth to it that you don't ever get from any of the after infused kind of stuff. It's such
But
a
if you-
nice.
If you drink enough of this Bombay Sapphire, you will get a warm
inside.
You'll get warm
nice,
inside.
nice and warm. All right, we're going to get to our nice and warm drinking news coming up in the next segment, plus a little more Oktoberfest. I wasn't sure how gin and Oktoberfest we're gonna marry up, but this is going pretty well, I think, in terms of going from one to the other. I don't know if they're pairings necessarily.
If
they're
we
not
don't
fighting
get to all
each
these Oktoberfests, I get to take them home.
We'll be right back to see if we can meet that challenge on Smoking and Toasted. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasted. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And some of the craft beer will occasionally be Oktoberfest, especially now. Now, we decided not to do the Oktoberfest taste test blind like we have done in previous years, mostly because we had so much going on in the show that it didn't seem like it seemed like it might
It would have been laborious.
laborious. There you go. That's the term. So instead, we know what we're getting when we go in here, and that has not stopped us from enjoying any of these Oktoberfests. They, I think, so far have all been outstanding.
Here comes Yingling Oktoberfest.
Now, this is interesting. Have we had Yingling Oktoberfest before?
Well, not on the show, but we did enjoy it over at Alan Denny's house. Mm-hmm. And enjoy it, we did. So it's interesting to see what it does next to all the other.
And after taking a taste, I can tell you why we enjoyed it. But I will say, stacked up against the others, it doesn't have the same depth of German malt,
not as
Marzen
much
flavor.
depth of character.
Right. It's still delicious and very crisp and refreshing. And
It's very drinkable. This one might take place of the most sessionable. Mm-hmm. Like this is.
I agree. It doesn't ask a lot of you.
And what was the most
That's okay.
sessionable up until now? Was it the
Up until now, I think the most sessionable was the
was the bells?
was the Yes.
Yeah.
I think bells.
Yeah,
Bells,
it was the
yes.
bells. Yeah,
Bells.
I
but,
had to think about
but
that for a minute.
this is awfully good in a sessionable kind of way.
So Yingling does quality stuff, man. I think I don't have any problem with any of their beers that I've had, even their lighter beers.
Oh, and
have flavor.
that chocolate porter thing that they do with Hershey's. Wow,
Yeah, if you
that
haven't
thing,
had
that thing is
it's-
outstanding.
Yeah,
Seasonal beer offering.
Yeah, It's Hershey's
Wonderful,
chocolate porter.
wonderful.
Wild.
It's just fantastic.
Milk chocolate.
Yeah, just chocolate. Yeah, because
milk
Hershey's is
chocolate,
milk
No.
chocolate, right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I will look for it.
It's so good.
It's real good.
It's so good.
It's so good it'll make you take back stuff you didn't even steal.
Yeah.
Hey.
And with that in mind, that will get you on Drinking News. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the stories that may or may not be about drinking, but often are. But they are always definitely best enjoyed if you've been drinking, which we have. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. I like that. That was delivered with some attitude, more so than usual for the Gator to the Vet.
She nailed it.
Yes, she absolutely did. Well, before we get to our main story today, an addition to a previous report on this show. Just a few months ago, during one of our drinking news segments, which we like to call the Florida Report, we brought you the story of a Florida woman who found herself behind bars after a traffic stop yielded, surprise, surprise, the discovery of a number of drugs in the car. Her name was Lauren Riley, and when Florida Highway Patrol officers arrested her, they found a bag in her car's floorboard labeled bag of drugs.
Hey, at least you're not getting confused with what you're looking at.
Yeah. It contained a metal spoon, 4 glass pipes with residue, plastic baggies with white residue, a full needle, 2 straws, cocaine, crack cocaine, crystal meth, and assorted illegal pills. Now, of course, we've come to expect such brilliance from residents of the Sunshine State. So stories like this, while amusing, are not necessarily surprising. But in other states, they tend to be much craftier than the Florida woman. In Portland, police pulled over an Oregon man
Oregon man.
after running his plates and discovering that the Taurus he was driving was stolen. They found a handgun in his pocket.
Why did he steal a Taurus?
Of all
I
vehicles.
almost stopped to ask that question. It's so funny you mentioned that. But they found a handgun in his pocket, a wad of cash and drug paraphernalia in the car, and a suspicious bag that showed that the man was much smarter and sneakier than our Florida woman.
It's a not bag of drugs.
The Oregon man's bag was labeled
Definitely not drugs.
definitely not a bag of drugs.
Wow.
Nailed it. The man
You
was
guys were joking, and that's real.
The man was arrested, and any reports that he asked to be extradited to Florida have not been confirmed. So,
Man.
Literally said definitely not a bag
Yep.
of drugs.
Definitely not a bag of drugs.
but our main story this week takes place in Boston, where a Massachusetts woman. You're welcome to.
Where did I park the car?
A Massachusetts woman named Megan Zimmerman worked as a waitress in a pricey restaurant in the city's theater district. That was good, by the way.
I'm making this up
That
as
was
I go.
really good. It was quick and it was really good. So Megan Zimmerman worked as a
Don't make me
waitress.
say washing machine either.
Yeah, that's right. That's more like Baltimore, Philly accent. So yeah, worder. Yeah. Anyway, Megan Zimmerman worked as a waitress in a pricey restaurant in the city's theater district, and she reports that a group of 5 couples, all 50-something husbands and wives, came in for dinner for a night on the town that would include going to see the stage production of Jersey Boys after their meal.
Guys.
As is common with groups like this, there wound up being a bit of a dispute over who was going to treat the others by paying the bill. At one point, one of the men got her attention by tapping the back of his chair as if he wanted to slip the Massachusetts waitress his credit card before any of the other diners had a chance to try and pay. Well, when he went to pass the item to her discreetly, what dropped into her hand was not a credit card, but a diamond-shaped aquamarine pill that said Pfizer on it.
Bag of drugs.
He had passed her a Viagra.
Because she might need this for later.
He then, according to Ms. Zimmerman, quietly asked her to just go in the back and cut that in half for me, sweetheart.
Going to need this later.
But just half.
One of the other men at the table, overseeing the exchange but not hearing the request, jumped to the conclusion that she had been indeed passed a credit card. And so he immediately protested, saying, "Don't take his card. I said I was paying." And then he reached around the table to snatch what he thought was a plastic card out of her hand, creating an actual tug of war right there at the table. And the quote from the waitress, the quote from the waitress describing this incident that I'm about to share with you may be the single greatest sentence we've ever reported here on Drinking News. Ms. Zimmerman said this: "Out of some strange loyalty, I didn't want the whole table to know that their friend had erectile dysfunction. So I closed up my hand and refused to open it despite the other guests' protestations. This guy then started grabbing my arm to make me give the card to him while Viagra Man was trying to pull me away from his friend. So now they're doing a tug of war with me in the middle of a crowded dining room. And I'm in the middle, clutching a Viagra, increasingly pissed off and wondering how my life had come to this," end quote.
My God, what decisions have I made?
When the determined would-be payer thrust his credit card at her, the waitress took it and then
Good thing
returned
that's the only thing he thrust. Apparently the other one was thrusting.
returned the hard-on medicine to its owner, telling him, "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't accept drugs from the guests." This made the guests all very curious, including Viagra Man's wife. But our Massachusetts waitress was able to escape, run the card, and settle the bill so that the diners could all make it to the theater in time for their show. Now, I may be a bit weird, but it is impossible for me to report a story like this without becoming somewhat inspired. Some people are inspired by love, some by nature, some by a religious experience.
I love the philosophy of this guy. He's like, man, I don't care if the waitress knows.
Yeah.
Cut my pill in half.
Yeah. And bring it back to me.
Because I only need 2 hours of this pill.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in, done, and out. We're good.
Well, while some people are inspired by love and some by nature and some by religious experiences, I find that I am often inspired by the stories here on Drinking News. And as regular listeners most likely know, when I get inspired, I often express this by writing poetry. And that's what I've done here today. So, completely without your permission, and certainly against the better judgment of any of those here in the studio with me, I'd like to share this poem with you now. Could I get a little poetry reading music, please? And it goes a little something like this. "Can you cut this in half?" asked the owner of an ED pill. He was clearly not a loner. I couldn't meet his request, so he took the full pill, I guess, and watched Jersey Boys with an embarrassing boner. Reporting live from Boston, where I just heard the guy's wife asked him, "Is that a credit card in your pocket, or do you just really love Frankie Valli songs?" My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking News, Drinking News. That's our time for Drinking News.
Cheers, y'all.
Wow.
It's getting outrageous in
Wow,
here.
it is. Now, Did you hear? I don't know if y'all have heard this, but this goes along with this kind of story, but still more I was flipping through my HBO Max the other day, and apparently someone must have heard the show and has now made an HBO series about smoking and toasting. Well, at least the drinking news part. It's called It's Florida Man.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a new series that's actually on right now.
Say what?
It says, It's Florida Man brings to life unbelievable ripped from the headline tales of the Sunshine State, featuring interviews with everyday Floridians and playful recreations starring a rotating cast of actors and comedians.
So I have to say, I love this idea. So we bring you the stories here, right? But can you imagine like a group of somewhat talented
Anna
actors
Faris is one of them.
doing recreations of
Randall
these
Park,
Florida Man stories?
Juliette
Did you ever
Lewis?
watch Drunk History?
Oh,
Drunk
yes.
History was
Yes.
great.
It's brilliant.
Drunk History was great, but
Amazing.
still, think about Anna Faris,
Yes.
on TV doing the Florida story about the guy that goes to the middle of the interstate and poops on a roadkill possum.
Yeah.
I want to see that on HBO Max. I do.
Yeah.
I just like the thought process of there's a dead possum. I'm gonna poop on it.
Exactly. But these are the things that they'd be able to explore in true acting and absolutely.
Do you see the enlightenment we brought to your brand?
Just truly, life changing.
Absolutely. She's like, I hope none of my bosses
What
hear
have I
this.
done? Not going to share with anyone.
Premium brands.
It all started off so innocent.
Here we are talking about possums and poop and waitress stories that take me back to 20 years of it being in the industry.
Don't make this stuff up. I'm telling you.
No, ripped from the headlines.
Ripped from the headlines.
From the headlines.
Ripped, kicking, and screaming sometimes from the headlines. I am really enjoying, with a piece of ice, this.
It's really good.
Tell me the official
chill.
name of the second one.
Bombay Sapphire Premier Crew.
Premier Crew. This is the one with the lemon.
Yep, Mercy and Lemon.
Mercy and lemon. Mercy.
Mercy and lemon even. Yeah, it's really good. Like even just as a sipper like this with a little bit of ice.
And you don't
quite
think
good. It's kind of like a slightly less cold martini.
Yeah.
Well, but you don't think of gin as a sipping liquor in the way that
By
you
itself.
would with rum or bourbon or even tequila, right? You don't necessarily think of that, and yet
Most people aren't doing gin flights.
This
right?
is really enjoyable, though.
really
Yeah, but
good.
yeah, you're right. Most people aren't doing
They're not
gin
serving.
flights.
That's not something a bar is offering.
But I have been to a bar that offered vodka flights. It was a bar in Las Vegas, and it was called Red Square. It was a restaurant named Red Square, and what they would do is they would bring the vodka flight out to you. It was 6 vodkas, all in test tubes, and they would be seated in a frozen brick that had red food coloring in it. Right? So it would be like a red block of ice, basically.
Nice.
With
That
your
your
little
vodka's
vodka
in. And then
shooters
you would
in.
do the vodka shooters as I sipped mine, but that was how you did it. It was actually quite enjoyable. And it was interesting to me because I was sort of vodka is flavorless, so this won't all be that different. But they actually were more different
There's
than I
nuance
would
and
have
flavor
guessed.
in vodka.
Yeah.
Totally, it depends on how you make it and how you distill it
Yeah.
and all of those things.
But this to me reminds me of that a little bit in that you might not expect it to be that much of a sipper, but it works pretty darn well as a sipper.
Pretty good.
Okay. Sorry, I had a momentary
Gin happiness moment.
well, that and a little flashback to our drinking news story, so I apologize. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. We have any more Oktoberfest left to sample?
We have at least 2.
All right, well, let's do at least 2 in our final segment before we say goodbye. Smoking and Toasting is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are talking about Bombay Sapphire, and we're talking about Oktoberfest on today's show, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And Ian is pouring some of that craft beer right now.
Is a particularly good guitar sound.
That's the one I was thinking it was a little sharp. It's a sharp guitar player. That's all I'm saying. Welcome back to the show. This is show number 403, which means we've done 403 episodes of this program, and no one has stepped in to stop us.
It's madness.
Yeah, it's, and I only say that because I know it really, really annoys that one guy.
I feel like neglect becomes our ally in this one.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. We have lots of allies, including those who enable us, like our good friend here, Sarah Troxell from Iconic Brands. Thank you for coming on today. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad that you've been like so cool about tasting all these beers with us because
So many beers.
Yes, so many beers, and so little time. So Ian has poured another one for us. This, I'm guessing, is from Brooklyn Brewery, right? I love Brooklyn Brewery. These guys have got it going on.
This is nice. This is on par with some of the best we've had today.
We really have not had one that's been in any way disappointing, right?
No, I don't think so. I think I think they've all been at least pretty darn good.
Yeah, I would agree. This is I don't know. This is exactly what I expect an Oktoberfest to taste like, if that makes any sense.
As far as the unicorn goes, like we mentioned it earlier in the show that there's one at the house that I have that I didn't really like, so I didn't.
What was bad about it?
It tasted like it was off. Okay, so it was definitely off, and it was bitter, and it was harsh, and it was not good. But
you could have gotten just a bad can?
I'm wondering if they had a bad run, maybe. Because I've had that happen. I mean, remember I brought that crazy mead that one time?
It was awful.
I opened the can and you smelled it. You were like, I'm not even bothering trying it. And then you brought it a couple months later and we were like, hey, this is pretty good.
Right. And it's from a very reputable brewery.
That was brewed at Southern Star.
Yeah,
both
those
of
guys
them.
know what they're doing.
And
their
I was
beers are
amazed
good.
by that because like when you brought it, it tasted like what I would assumed it was supposed to taste like, but like the can that I had was obviously a bad batch.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that happens. I mean, you're talking about something organic. It's going to happen to some degree.
Totally is. But yeah, but we've had a good run here on today's show with these beers. These have been quite good. And
We're not done.
You think you got one more, right?
I got one more of these to lay on us. This is from Real Ale. Now, Real Ale is not too far from that Allstat Castle that I was talking about earlier. It's out in the country. And it's beautiful out there. Like they have their brewery sitting up on this hill. You park down.
It's so cool.
You park down in the parking lot and you walk up the stairs and the overlook out there is gorgeous. There's a place to smoke a cigar. They have a bunch of great beers because they're Real Ale and all their beers are good.
This is in Blanco, Texas, right?
Yes.
I think? Okay, cool.
Yes, so good.
Is that the hill country, technically? Hill country
Yes.
still?
It
Okay.
is,
It's like I'm
technically
sometimes bad at geography.
up in like that Netherlands between San Antonio, Austin, and like Fredericksburg. So.
Okay, got it.
It's all somewhere along 35, I think.
Yeah.
So, but I've been to this brewery as well, and it's just beautiful. It's so fun.
And if you are in the New Braunfels area, you must visit the Guadalupe Brewing Company.
Oh, so they don't
That
have
place
any
is
distribution around here, but you brought back beers when you were there last time,
and they were
fantastic.
unbelievably
Like, everyone
good.
you brought back was not just good, but like
Amazing.
eye-opening, fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone that I had there while I was there, that were not the brews that I brought back, because I brought back different ones.
Oh, Real Ale.
Yeah. Oh, Real Ale. Have they done a thing?
Oh, Real Ale. You are now in the top echelon of all of these. You were up there with the 11 Below and the Allstat. Holy cow.
Wow. That is good.
The mouthfeel on it is funny because it's actually lighter than most of them, but the mouthfeel is way fuller. It's very interesting.
The texture was definitely the first thing that caught my attention on that, which is interesting that's what you went to first.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really because all the rest of them, like even let's see if I can even do this. Like here's the Brooklyn. You can see it the way it moves in the glass.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that is much more viscous than this, and even though it's a small amount, it's so interesting. The mouthfeel is so much better.
Well, this has been a very interesting Oktoberfest show because we have legitimately liked every single beer. Now I know there was one you said you didn't bring that you didn't like, but none of these we found disappointing, I guess is a good way to say it. All of these have lived up to the standard of, yes, I would buy this.
I'm going to assume that the one that I didn't like is a bad batch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe deserves a revisit.
Yeah, and because and it's from a reputable brewery. I actually bought a 6-pack of it because I was like, oh yeah, they have a Oktoberfest, buy it. And I took it home and I opened it, I was like, huh. But it happens to everybody. I've had Martin House beers that, like, I had the breakfast at 3 a.m. that was so overcarbed it was undrinkable. Like, you had to pour it into a can and wait.
Wow.
Forever.
Wow. That tells you something right there.
Right, but I've had, and it happens to every brewery. I'm not trying to single out Martin House. They make amazing beers. But, like, it happens to everybody at some point in time. But, apparently I got a bad batch from that.
Well, and as much as they try to make it a science, it is still an art. Like you said, it's made with things from nature. Fermentation is a natural process.
Absolutely. And listen, we brought on some expensive imperial stouts that were basically just soy sauce because we kept them too long.
Aged for too long at home.
That happens. That happens as well. Well,
Hybrid soy sauce.
I have to thank you so much for coming on the show. Sarah Troxell from Iconic Brands, thank you for coming on, enjoying some Bombay Sapphire with us. And I am completely new to the Bombay Sapphire Premier Crew, but this has got to go into my bar.
This is the first time I've tried it. It's fantastic.
I like this a lot. This is absolutely wonderful.
Glad you guys liked it.
Well, thank you, and let's do this again. And we may not have
next time. I'll bring cocktails.
We may not have as many beers next time, but we'll make up for that with cocktails. Have a great week, my friends, and happy Oktoberfest to all of you. And Prost.
Prost.
Cheers,
Santé.
y'all. Or Prost, y'all.
I've been told I can't win, so there it is. First you say you can, then you say you can't. You don't